तो चलिए एक बार जोरदार तालियों के साथ स्वागत कीजिए, वेलकम करते हैं मिस्टर ज्ञानेश चौधरी, चेयरमैन एंड एमडी विक्रम सोलर. May I also invite Sonal Mehrotra Kapoor on stage to take the conversation forward. Welcome. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I know this is the last one before lunch and everybody wants to sort of rush in, grab a bite, but I promise to make it engaging. I promise to make it about something that you will take away and talk about over your lunch with your new people and connection that you hope to make here at Rising Bharat. So lovely to have you here. I think when we talk about solar energy in India, the past couple of years, the past decade itself has seen a transformative journey. Our understanding of solar, our capacity for solar, our adoption of solar has grown to potential, really great heights. And if I'm quoting the UN climate chief there, he's called India a solar powerhouse. What does this mean for the future of the industry today?
Thank you, Sonal, for having me today. I think for me personally, I've lived solar for the last over 2 decades. It's been a passion project. All the other stuff, the success, the industry taking a significant shape happened much later. I think what solar means for India is far too many things. Apart from it being at the center stage and the heart and mind of our Honorable Prime Minister, right from the days when he was the Chief Minister of Gujarat, to bringing all of that to central policies and initiatives. What we've seen is 5 things. I'll give you 5 numbers, so to speak. India was the first country, one of the first countries to sign the Paris Climate Accord. Number 2, India now has 2x of nuclear energy than it had 1 decade ago. Number 3, India is the 3rd largest deployer of solar energy. Number 4, India is the 4th largest deployer of wind energy. Number 5, India is the 5th largest deployer of hydro energy. So just taking all the top spots globally and being where we are in India and knowing the appetite, it seems like we're just getting started.
It's lovely that you've quoted the top 5 points. India is scoring so well there. So it's a good time for me to sort of bring in what's perhaps not going so well, which is battery storage, which is about understanding how critical it's become not just to generate solar power, but to store it. What do you think is standing in our way today?
Actually, nothing. I think energy storage, battery energy storage is where solar was probably a couple of decades ago. The technology has matured, costs have come down significantly. Why battery storage is important? I think the sun doesn't stay where it is throughout the day. So typically, we look at solar as supplement load. When we incorporate energy storage in a significant way onto the grid, we see that we can do so much more with renewable energy than we would previously be able to do. And that's why energy storage is so much more important today, knowing that India has phenomenal ambitions to deploy renewable energy onto the grid. As far as energy storage is concerned, the technology has taken leaps and bounds of transformation. In general, you deal with a lot of youth. Your content attracts a lot of youth. Your narrative, your subjects are very, very attractive to youth. And the youth today wants 3 things: bigger, better, faster, right? Energy storage, like what solar did, energy storage provides all of that today. There is better storage, there is more condense, more energy out of smaller form factors. There is fast charging, and there is better for the environment and better for overall, longevity. So all of this has transpired recently. As we see the cost curves coming down, we see the adoption of energy going through the roof. If you look at China, China has close to 80 gigawatt of battery storage already deployed. US has over 25 gigawatt, and India is sitting with insignificant capacities today. So the importance of energy storage and the deployment plan holds great importance, and we see this going up to 30, 40 gigawatt in the next years.
Right. So, this is a great, you brought in youth, so sort of let me pivot to that. This has been a great sector for youth energies to come in, to find solutions, not just in innovation, but adoption, be more vocal about it as well. I would love to understand what Vikram Solar is doing at this point to stay at the forefront of this conversation on solar.
I was here for your previous sessions with Shweta and Luke, and I was fascinated by some things Shweta said that, not FOMO, JOMO. I think the youth today is far more inclined towards, living for themselves, and not in a bad way, in a very good way. And I think climate change is such an important subject which attracts the youth, not at the, at a college level, but also at the school level, at the primary school and secondary school level, and rightly so. So this becomes a very important narrative to carry forward. Simple things like, garbage segregation, simple things like, switching off your fan when you step out of the room. I think India in general is a very frugal society. We're not one to waste food on the table. I'm sure your mom never allowed you to, waste food. Neither did mine. So all of this cumulatively brings about a lot of importance towards energy. When we say, roti, kapda or makan, the fourth is energy. Because without that, none of the apps would work, no data centers would work, no AI would work. So it becomes very relevant for us to educate the youth, bring them on board with some of these important concepts of not just generation, but conservation. And I think solar goes out a long way to kind of educate and bring all of these promised narratives into the mainstream.
Right. But is there a need perhaps then to upskill the next generation as well? You're right, their understanding of solar is very different. They've been born, they've been brought up where even being energy wise is cool, so to say. So, but is there a way in which they can upskill it and contribute perhaps even better?
A lot of initiatives are happening. I think NICE from the government of India has got the Surya Mitra scheme, where they're bringing various vocational training to the mainstream and empowering the youth and the workforce to come onto the solar bandwagon. We have seen a lot of other skill development council schemes which are bringing all of these changes. But not nearly enough. I think we need to do far greater, far more. If we see the manufacturing landscape of solar, we have taken leaps and bounds of progress, wherein we were less than 10 gigawatt manufacturer just a couple of years ago. Today, we boast in excess of 50 gigawatt of manufacturing, which caters to the entire solar deployment in India. But this requires a lot of manpower, and enough and more training is required.
Recently Nandan Nilekani actually suggested that energy could become India's next UPI moment. Now, it sounds like a great headline I would love to put out, but the challenges are plenty. What I want to understand from you is what's holding the energy sector to become the fintech story of India?
I could go on about this. I'll give you 3 Ds. Decentralized, demonetized, and dematerialized. I think, and this is more of a blue sky sort of a thought process that I have nurtured, and I think Mr. Nilekani has really hit the nail. We're working on some of the projects together also with our digital arm called Wiki AI. But what does this mean? What do the 3Ds mean? Basically, my understanding of the future of energy is it's going to be demonetized, where you won't be paying for energy like you don't pay for air. Dematerialized, you obviously don't see energy, but you won't have to necessarily invest yourself in buying a diesel generator or buying a battery or buying a solar plant on top of your roof if you don't have to. And decentralized, it's going to be everywhere. Every single rooftop, every single location is going to be generating energy. And all of this will be transactional through the way we see UPI. I'm happy to say that we're working on a UEI, which Universal Energy Interface. So a lot of things are happening, which...
You mean like an interface where energy can be traded?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And wouldn't that be amazing? Like you have a party, Sonal, in your house and you need more energy. I have extra and I transfer that to you through the UEI interface. Wouldn't that be amazing?
Wouldn't that make for a really beautiful world? I actually will have to be really nice to my neighbor and vice versa.
Always be nice to thy neighbor.
Yeah, but I'm trying to understand how can companies like yours, how can Vikram Solar actually help in ensuring that this sort of fintech dream is realized sooner rather than later? We were talking earlier, and you started well, ahead of the curve. 2005, there was very little knowledge, let alone advocacy or even acknowledgement, adoption of solar. But from then to now, what do you think lies as a challenge ahead of you? Where are you seeing taking it forward, say, for the next 5 years? What's the battle there?
So, reminds me of some of the reasons why I got into solar. Firstly, my grandfather, who's no more, he kind of set some ground rules for us that there are some businesses that as a family you would do and some businesses you won't do. And what you would do is, things that are good for the human body, good for environment, and this I'm talking about 60, 70 years ago. These guys knew so much more than we ever know today. So the foundation in the mind was laid back then. But believe it or not, I started with setting up a steel plant. I would walk into the plant wearing a white shirt and come out with black. And that made me feel sick.
It's the other end of the spectrum.
Exactly. And I'm talking 2001 to 25 years ago. So that didn't resonate with me. And soon I started researching and figuring out, and my father was a very big driver for this to be much ahead of the times. And stumbled upon solar technology and decided to get started with it. This is back early in 2005-06. And it was tough. Nobody knew what solar was in general. The basic explanations had to be, okay, this is the sun and this is the solar panel and this is how energy translates. But from that journey, from then to now, the conversations have far, far improved. Solar energy is mainstream. Everyone knows about it. Everyone wants to invest in it. And as I said, because India is a frugal economy, the cost curves have come down by 85%, which makes it affordable also.
It does make it affordable. How convenient is perhaps the question. But you did bring up the issue in your 3Ds earlier of decentralized, which is often a cause of debate in the sector as well. We have seen that large-scale grid-connected plants versus the decentralized rooftop solar solution. There is a massive divide between which side to really sort of proceed with. What is your view?
I think we need both. For India, which is on a fast pace of growth and development, we see 3 to 4% of additional energy plugging into the grid needed by the consumers every year. I don't see these numbers anywhere else in the world. And that goes out to say that India is a fast-paced, growing nation which needs all this energy. To expect all of it to come from solar or purely renewable sources would not be possible. not at the moment. But certainly we are aiming to be at least 50% of the overall India energy requirement.
Right. So you're saying somewhere of a balance is what is required. You know, before I wrap this up, I have to ask you, I think the problem at a macro level with India at the moment, and since Rising Bharat this year is about youthful aspirations, let me sort of plug that in. Everybody wants to do right. Everybody wants to ensure that they have that solar power. They are, you know, are conscious about the environment, want to do the right thing. It's a question of not what they want to do, but how. Is there a tip that you can share with industry leaders, people, etc., on how to actually bridge that gap? Today, I believe that if you were to, that's why UPI is such an exciting example, because if you did give people that tool in their hand, they would use it. But what's keeping us from that, and perhaps what can be done to ensure that that gap is bridged?
I think a lot of it has to do with choices we make. Every day we're making choices: what to wear, what to eat, where to go, which friends to make, what car to drive. I think this is also a choice, and if we choose to be on the right side of history, where we are a part of this movement called climate change and climate action, or we want to be on the other side where we are okay with whatever's going on. If you see, the most talked about subject the day after a natural calamity is climate change. But the day after that, it's probably Kim Kardashian or something else. So people move on. I think that needs to change. We need to be more conscientious of what we receive from the environment, and at least if we don't give back, we don't pollute it for the next generation. And I think I, being a climate enthusiast for as long as I can think of, I dream, sleep, eat this.
Great. Here's hoping that your dreaming, sleeping, and eating of all this enthusiasm has sort of percolated down through your work as well. Thank you so much for being here with us and sharing your story. Yeah, thank you.